Crypto Parabellum Podcast. We're back. Episode lucky number 13. I don't know if it's lucky given what we're about to talk about, but it is episode number 13. And if you're watching this, you see that it's only me on here. But you're going to see some logos here because I'm about to introduce our two guest hosts this week. So Joel and Alan have a lot going on. We'll get into that in a little bit. They'll be back next week. But I'm going to call this episode 13, House of Cards, part 1, because the House of Cards started to come down. But let's introduce our guests here. We have Trader Kaz and Crypto Dale from Twitter, class of 2017. Boys, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to have you guys on. We've done some live streams on my stream before. I think we were on Kaz's stream once. And it's good to have you guys in because you're class of 2017. And if there's a crypto class of 2017, so if there's been a scandal, you guys have seen it, you've experienced it. And oh boy, I'm excited to put this one in context. But I feel like since some people may not have overlap with you guys, I gave you a little bit of a background. Kaz, can you tell people about yourself a bit?
Yeah, so I started in crypto 2017. Buddy of mine in college was like, hey, I'm using this TA stuff to trade Litecoin. And I was like, wow, that sounds kind of interesting. Got into it, lost a bunch of money in 2017, told myself I'd try and figure things out so that doesn't happen to me again. And every year we get a little bit better, but main focus, trading, had some fun in the NFT space this past year and kind of whatever else gets hot in crypto. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice. Perfect. Thank you. And Mr. Dale, how about yourself?
What's up? Yeah, so I, like Kaz, I got in 2017, made some money at first, and then proceeded to lose it all, thinking I was a god tier trader, and in fact was not, and I'm still not. Active in the space. I like the decentralization aspect of it. Background before crypto was traditional finance, so see the need. And yeah, like Kaz, I'll trade whatever's hot. I'm not a maxi by any means, but it's a roll.
Nice. Yeah. It's funny because your guys' story is not unique. Get in, like it, make some money, lose that money, like the space though, double down, end up having some success later on. And it's funny I bring that up because I think there's going to be a lot of people listening to this, or a lot of people in crypto that just kind of had that same experience that y'all just had, where it was like I came in 2020 when shit got hot. I made some money. I thought FTX was untouchable. I put some money on there, and here we sit on November 16th, 2022, and the golden god of crypto, or self-proclaimed Sam Bankman-Fried, is broke. You should be going to jail. And this all started 14 days ago, guys, 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and like, I think we're just at the beginning with a lot of the fallout of all this stuff. I mean, it's kind of surprising to me how well the market has held up thus far. Like with everything that's come out, it's like, how is Bitcoin not at like 12K already or something like that? But I know we're probably just at the beginning of hearing all the firms that had all their money on FTX and have gotten screwed, and who knows what else is coming with all the drama whenever Sam decides he wants to tweet a new letter and tell us stuff that we already know. But I don't know. We're in for a wild ride.
I think you're right. I'm going to do real quick. I want to set up the direct events that led to where we were. And I say direct, meaning within the last 14 days. We can get into the other stuff too, which really goes back years. And I have some extremely hot takes that, just a little spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure Sam was a fucking fraud all along. I'm pretty sure he was a fraud all along. If you look at his background and what he was doing and how he got his money, it's disgusting. But let's talk about the things that started on November 2nd, because this kicked off November 2nd. On November 2nd, CoinDesk reported 40% of Alameda's assets were in FTX's FTT token. FTT is essentially equity, right? Like, am I categorizing that correctly? FTT is essentially equity in FTX. It's kind of like a security token.
Yeah.
I remember owning FTT. The only reason I owned FTT was you got discounted trading rates on FTX. But who was that was just going to pop in? What do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I was just going to, I mean, you pretty much covered it there. It was kind of, you'd think of it as equity in FTX, but then you also got a little bit of the discount, and I don't remember, You got something for staking it. I remember when
Yeah.
FTT was like $4, I was staking a bunch of it, but
Yeah.
I don't remember all the
Same. I staked. I think you had to stake 500 to get like the best.
Oh, that's
rates.
right. Yeah.
It was something crazy, and then I literally looked at it because I did the same thing. I think it was $1, $2, $3, $4, and I was like, oh my god, this thing's $46. I'm staking this. I'm out of here. I'll take this 10x and I'll ride off. And then I stopped trading at that point on FTX because there was a lot of other issues. But what happened after the second? So CoinDesk reports that, and on the 6th, CZ, the CEO of Binance, sends out this tweet kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I remember seeing it. And just by the way, the reason why we haven't been on here is we had a baby, right? Like my wife and I had a baby. I was sitting in the hospital looking at this going like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why'd CZ say he's going to get out? Like, that's pretty wild. And he says that they're going to liquidate $2.1 billion worth of FTT because they were an investor in FTX. Part of them mingling, I guess, getting their equity out of FTX was getting paid in BUSD and FTT. So they had $2.1 billion worth. At this point, the FTT, I think, was worth like $28.
Like FTT itself.
FTT itself was $28 per token.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of rumors start going about, what he's selling all of it. And he made some like weird, like he alluded to Sam going after him, right? Yep. He said, we like to have people's backs or something like that. I'll link the tweet in the show notes, but
yeah, he tweeted saying, or I saw it come up later where he tweeted a thread or something about how the exchange was attacked by a competitor, but luckily they use mark instead of index price or something. And like, if they used the other, everyone would have been liquidated, something like that. But some attack.
So that was a little while back. But yes, what he said was, we're going to sell on the 6th. We're going to try to do it in a way that minimizes market impact. We encourage, this is what I was trying to get for. We encourage collaboration between industry players. Regarding any speculation as to whether this is a move against a competitor, it is not. Our industry isn't necessarily, is in its nascency, and every time a project publicly fails or a project publicly fails, it hurts every user. We typically hold tokens for the long term, blah, 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 blah. And then he came out and said, it was hard for me to do that when this person was going after me personally. And apparently Sam was going after CZ politically. Okay. Like he was trying to box everybody out. So Binance.us, which does exist, not officially, associated with Binance, just like FTX.us wasn't officially associated with FTX, but clearly it was. He's like trying to box CZ out. And that ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back, because essentially from that point on, people start looking as to what's going on. Right away, and this is the part that kills me, guys. Caroline, the CEO, the remaining CEO of Alameda, tweeted, and I remember seeing this, if you want to minimize market impact, because he said he did in his little tweet thread, we'll buy it all right now for $23 a share, $23 a token. Dale, where did that money come from? Where was that money going to come from?
Our pockets.
Yeah, I was just going to say they probably would have struck a deal and told, based off what we know now, they probably would have struck a deal with something or just increased APR to attract deposits and the customers' funds to pay that.
That's right. They essentially would have pulled money in somehow and just straight ripped it and given it to CZ, right?
100%.
It's unbelievable. And so you start to hear this, that, hey, first it's $22 a token, we'll buy it. Sam comes out and says, someone's trying to go after us with false rumors. FTX is fine. Assets are fine. We have enough to cover all holdings. Just flagrant lies and tweets
Famous
have now
last
been
words.
Famous
oh my
assets
God.
are fine. We are fine.
We're fine. Dude, anytime anybody says that, they're done. Okay? They're done. One day later, okay, that's the 7th. The day my daughter was born, by the way. One day later, FTX pauses withdrawals. FTX says they've agreed to terms with Binance on an acquisition. That Binance is going to buy FTX. When that, literally my brain almost exploded when I heard that, because there's no freaking way that would ever happen. Like when you heard that, Kaz, what did you think?
Honestly, that was kind of out of left field. It was funny seeing some tweets later on about people who were like predicting it, or like, I bet CZ is going to acquire FTX. I don't know. It was hard to believe that it was actually going to go through, and it kind of brought up more questions than answers. It was like, okay, so do you just withdraw from FTX? You go to FTX, it'll redirect you to Binance. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I was shocked. I didn't really know what it meant going forward, and definitely had some doubts about whether or not it would go through. But at the time, the market was responding as if it was a certainty that Binance was going to buy FTX.
Yeah, and like I think Ethereum wicked like $1,600 on that
Bro,
announcement.
we saw some crazy movement.
Um,
I remember FTT pumped a bunch too, and I was talking with you on Telegram. I was like, I think I'm going to close this FTT long, like, because I got
Yeah.
into it, or I think it was like right when I saw the tweet. Just bought some FTT. I was like, all right, that sounds good. And then it was actually only for, I don't know, 20 minutes that it seemed like this deal could be real. And then as
truly.
soon as CZ tweeted, gosh, I don't remember the exact words in his thread, but he was like, it basically made it sound like it wasn't actually going to happen. Like they're going
Right.
to try, but like it's not super likely. And then I was
Yeah.
like, okay, game over.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Dale, you've been doing this a long time. Obviously, you're in a ton of power groups, power users back from before the class of 2017. What were people saying when CZ said, and when Sam tweeted they were in agreement with Binance? What was everybody saying? What was your thought?
So, I didn't actually. So I had a surgery on that day too, and before I went into surgery, was just watching everything unfold as well. And then I come out and saw the news. I had normie friends texting me saying Binance is really going to buy FTX, and I was like, what the hell is this? So obviously I rushed to Telegram, and Jared, you'd sent me a message too. And I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. And then in these groups, people were like, there's zero chance Binance is buying, and they're probably just doing this to give Sam some time. Like they thought, the DD might.
So right away, they kind of knew.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're like, the DD, would take a couple of weeks. Hopefully by then, Sam can actually find someone to acquire. And then Binance can even be the good guy and say, hey, we helped facilitate whoever to purchase FTX, and then everyone comes out looking.
Part of me was thinking they sold into that news. I don't know who, Sam or CZ or something, but they got everything to pump off of one tweet. They could have just been like, all right, time to cash out some of this FTT.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know.
It did feel that way. It felt like it was just like a straight prop play. And, they said they were going to take a look at their books. And it only took a day for CZ to say, no, we're out. We're out, man. And what he said, interestingly, I've read two things. One, he wanted FTX.US as part of the deal, which Sam said right away, FTX US is fine. We're looking at moving in with Binance and FTX.com, whatever. CZ wanted FTX US included in the deal initially, is what I read, which is, he's a Chinese national. Okay. That's like very complicated at that point for that dude to own that company.
Yeah.
Right. But not even a day later, they back out. And part of it was like, because of all the weird and crazy shit Sam did, immediately the SEC is looking into it. Immediately they're going, we need full view into this. And there's no way, a Chinese billionaire is going to be like, yeah, sure, let me be party to this. So they back out. And right away, things start falling apart. And I want to take a pause here, because if we've seen anything in crypto, my 3 years, you guys a lot longer than that. When there's blood in the water, what happens?
Sharks come out.
Yeah.
The sharks.
I think that there's an alternate timeline where that what Dale had just described about like buying time to allow him to get out actually occurs. But people start looking a little more closely. People start asking, CZ, tell us about what you saw, man, when you looked at the books. And all of a sudden, the house of cards starts crashing down because it turns out they had $8 billion of negative liquidity. They didn't have it. The stuff that they were saying that was semi-liquid, to people on the outside who don't know anything about crypto, might believe that. Anyone who's in crypto would go, there's no freaking way you're getting $10 billion out of Oxy and Maps in Serum. And what they were doing, it turns out, was manipulating the price of tokens they launched and which they held the majority of supply for to show on their balance sheet, which, by the way, some questions need to be asked to the people who were lending to these fucking guys. Because they said, look, we have $14 billion. We want a loan for X hundreds of millions. And they were like, sure. All it would take is one person at those places lending to go, in Maps, in Oxy, of which 200 million tokens are out, but you have 10 billion of them. So what they were doing was manipulating the price of the tokens to artificially inflate its value to then take loans against that artificially inflated value. Guys, it is a story as old as time. That's illegal. Dale, you're in the financial space. What's that called in the financial space,
Fraud. Man? Money laundering.
Yeah.
I mean, take your pick. And the craziest part about it to me is, they would, I might go deep web here, so apologize.
Please.
They would take that money, Alameda would, or FTX, let's just lump them as one. They would take that.
Yeah, what's the difference?
There is none. You're exactly right. So let's just call them dipshits. Just kidding. They would take that money, they would loan it to Three Arrow, say. Three Arrows would in turn turn around and buy Luna with that, right? And then it's just like they would all list it on their financials as assets and liabilities when it's the same. I mean, you can't do that. It's the same money, right?
Yep.
So it's
I
mean, it's such a headache looking and hearing about that stuff. It's so mind-blowing.
Do we know how CZ was able to look at the books? Like, why didn't that happen before?
Well, so that's part of the acquisition process is due diligence. So if you say
no,
potentially...
No. Yeah, his original tweet where he was like, I learned some stuff about FTX. I'm going to be selling by 2.1 billion.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think those details have come out yet because you're right. He essentially got wind of them artificially inflating their assets.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think everybody kind of knew that because even among the three of us, when we talk about FTT or talk about FTT or Oxy or Maps or whatever, we'd all be like, it's fucking bullshit. Mm-hmm. Look at their fully diluted value.
It's FTT for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be like, it's fucking, but before, I mean, a year ago, I remember being like, I mean, who's falling in line for Serum? I mean, Serum could be sweet, but whatever. The best thing they had was Solana, and they milked the crap out of that, right? They milked the crap out of it because they helped launch Solana, but Solana is actually fairly well insulated from this.
And Solana, that's an interesting topic going forward.
Yeah. It's going to continue to be too.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens. So suffice to say, they were just a big Ponzi. And what Dale just said is exactly right, because it was essentially like $1 was printed somewhere and it was loaned out, invested, taken loans against, invested somewhere else. And there was a tweet that was like, son of a bitch, crypto really is just $3 leveraged a million times. That's all crypto is, just $3 leveraged a million times. And that's exactly right. That's what ended up happening, where we should never have had the run that we did because it was just all artificially inflated.
and it's a little worrisome.
It's very
I
worrisome.
mean, I guess that's understatement of the year right there.
Yeah.
But it's like, so what actually is crypto without all that leverage?
You know,
I think that. Go ahead.
you
Go
know
ahead.
what it makes, and I hate saying this, but you know what it does really make me feel is that we really are super, super early. Like earlier than what I had predicted. And
Than we
I
thought.
hate when people say we're so early. We're
Hey
so early.
boys, we're early.
Yeah. And so but honestly, like looking back, Kaz, you know, what are we within crypto? Where does this put us now? It definitely sets us back. But
I think a good sorry,
no, go ahead, go
continue.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I think a good way of saying it so that we don't sound like the cliche Twitter dudes who are like, oh, don't worry, you guys are still early, you can make all this money, is just saying like crypto itself is still very young.
Yeah.
Like we might have missed the seed round of Bitcoin, but now it's like they're raising their
Yeah. We're in the Series
Series A.
A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, I don't think we can say early in the sense that like, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But like a lot of money has been made in crypto by a lot of people, and in that sense, like I don't think Bitcoin's going to 500x,
No.
which
No.
I don't think is
FUD.
crazy to say. Um, but like the industry definitely is still young and it behaves very young still.
Yeah. The thing that really bothers me, I guess, it. Alan and Joel and I talked about this a couple episodes ago, maybe more than that. Could have been 5, 6 episodes ago, where when you saw Luna fall and some of these other major protocols fall, and they were kind of outed as being artificially propped up and bullshit, where we took the conversation um, then was that the next cycle will be based on proper valuations. Okay. Think of it like the .com bubble, right? Pets.com was worth $1 trillion or something asinine. It wasn't, but like it got some crazy valuation for no reason in the 99.com bubble, because it was just like, oh, it's a website for pets. That's gonna be worth, lots of people have pets. Like it was, that, and their valuation went up. And then it was like, hey, it turns out this was like some dude in his basement, like making dog food and shipping that to people, right? Like that's what it was. And I was like, okay, that's kind of bullshit. And then when it's not like the internet went away, it just got a lot more sophisticated. It became more, what are you doing? Are you making money, etc. So the conversation we had before was, okay, this is the .com boom of crypto, and the next cycle is going to be, show us your financials. Are you a profitable protocol? Where are you investing strategically? Are you doing something that's actually unique and not just another meme Ponzi add-on, right? Which I thought made sense at the time, and I still think does. But the part that really has bothered me throughout this more than anything else is, crypto at its core was launched by Satoshi, whoever the hell that was, as a response to centralized banks stealing from John Q. Public, right? Essentially, the 08-09 financial crisis, it was some bullshit. They just bailed out these banks for making bad decisions. Essentially,
And now we just have exchanges doing the same thing.
Right. And so it's all come full circle to where we're like, we started because of this crazy stuff, but where did we decide to put our money as crypto was kind of emerging through its nascency into centralized exchanges? Okay. The reason why all those Bitcoin maxis were super annoying through this entire run over the past 2.5 years, 3 years, was because they were talking about payment systems and how stupid it was. And it was like, you don't have to use Ethereum because you can send money back and forth on the Lightning Network. We're like, yeah, it doesn't do anything. Shut up. But what people ended up doing was taking that money and putting it in centralized exchanges and just recreating the same system that Bitcoin was designed to leave. And I sent you guys an article this morning. It's literally on CoinDesk. And I think it's something everybody should run and read and internalize and think about when it relates to crypto. And the article is called The End of the Centralization Era in Crypto. And I think that's ultimately what this is going to be. I think damage has been caused at a level that it's going to take more years than it will be weeks. Okay. It's going to take a long time because retail is unable to easily grasp decentralized exchanges and decentralization on chain. But you know what they can grasp? I open an account and I connect my bank account and I deposit money in, and somebody handles all the tough stuff for me. We just burned every retail person that joined in the last 2.5 years.
A lot of them. But I guess
even if they didn't lose money, Kaz. Even if they didn't lose money.
Yeah. We burnt all the people who wanted to be leverage traders.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like my friends who I've talked to about crypto and who have gotten into crypto never really opened a BitMEX, Bybit, FTX account. It's like they got their Coinbase because they don't really know anything else. Their bank's linked up to it. They'll send some ETH to MetaMask, some Sol to Phantom. But I mean, we've done a ton of, not we, a ton of damage has been done because of this whole FTX thing. And yes, I agree. A ton of retail is crushed, not only because of mostly because of the side effects. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm retail and I was on FTX. So
yeah. So let me say this to clarify my point a little bit further.
Yeah.
When I say burn, I don't even necessarily mean financially. Okay. Larry David did a commercial. Tom Brady and Giselle, Steph Curry did commercials for FTX.
Yeah.
We were building credibility as an industry. So even if you had zero money on FTX, seeing this happen, what do you think about crypto right now? Even if you were like maybe thinking about investing, what do you think crypto's about right now if you're one of those people?
FTX was the biggest name in the United States in crypto. You think crypto is a Ponzi scheme?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Dale?
I mean, I've been in, for 5.5, 6 years, and I'm pretty disgusted right now myself. So I can't imagine what
I've been in
someone that isn't into, day-to-day operation would feel.
And I think that takes a long time, and everyone needs to fully embrace decentralization, needs to embrace being on chain only. The article that I'll link in the show notes, The End of the Centralization Era in Crypto, it's literally the first paragraph. Drawing a straight line from Mt. Gox to Voyager to Celsius, now to FTX, shows how crypto's largest problems are often corporate failures. And that's 100% true. It's 100% true. The biggest failure of an on-chain protocol, apart from hacks, would have been Luna. But Luna was leveraged out of its fucking mind. And that's how they got to where they are. That's how they got to the point where they were just absolutely destroyed because they ran too far to be able to cover. Because theoretically, Luna should work all the time. Bitcoin price goes down. Okay, we're buying back based off the previous peg price and we can repopulate UST. That's not what happened. So they essentially got in bed with 3AC and Sam, et cetera, et cetera. And this goes back even further. Yeah, Caroline. Yeah, literally, figuratively. Yeah, we can talk about that. There's another article I
don't want to.
That literally is
I'd rather not.
The Tumblr account of the ex-CEO of Alameda and how they literally were in a polycule. I thought that was a joke, man. It's for real. All these people were living together and banging. Like, that's what they were doing. So, like, very bizarre.
Imagine
and she was, like, posting about it on Tumblr. Like
Dale.
Outlining all of it and what they used to do and how it was.
Wait, Caroline was posting on Tumblr?
Yeah,
dude, I sent you the article. Literally, somebody grabbed her Tumblr
I read
blog and pulled. I mean, she deleted it, but not before they got it.
Oh yeah, anyway, Tumblr blog link. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's weird. That's some weird stuff.
It's super weird. So it's going to take forever. But so the part that bothers me is that for all these people that are supposed to espouse the values of crypto, myself being guilty of this as well, right? We're supposed to espouse crypto and decentralization. We ended up on centralized exchanges, and that money got stolen by crooks like Sam. So, real quick, because I want to talk about what happens next, but you guys are both around for Mt. Gox. How does this compare?
I think it's worse.
I think Mount Gox was a. Go ahead, Dale.
Oh, sorry. I think it's worse mainly because Mt. Gox was a hack, and this is a figurehead, someone that was in DC trying to push regulation for crypto, and I mean, whether we want to admit it or not, he was the face of crypto for a while.
100%.
FTX was everywhere. They were there. You saw them in the World Series on the umpires, the baseball umpire badge or whatever, the Miami arena. They're everywhere.
Yep.
So the person that that's leading the charge on adoption just pulled the biggest Ponzi in the entire world. Maybe not entire world, but could be.
Well, in this
It's
world,
up there.
Yeah,
It's
in this
pretty
world,
big. Yeah.
short of Madoff. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, guys.
I would agree. I do think it's bigger. I think Mt. Gox happened a while before I was into crypto. Wasn't Mt. Gox like 2012?
Yeah,
but
you're right.
the repercussion, like you kept hearing about it in 2015, 2016, whatever. But yeah, I mean, similar to what Dale was saying, is like, that's a hack. Hacks suck, but they happen. Bad people do bad things. But it's not like a hacker that you trusted for years. And having someone who's like in charge of an exchange, a public figure, someone who we thought was lobbying for us in the political atmosphere, turned out to be a scammer. And I think the main lesson is, don't trust someone who says they're vegan and then gains a bunch of weight over the next 2 years.
Yeah, how does that happen?
True enough, man. How does that even happen? You just smashing candy bars? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. But he did have eggs in his fridge, which is also a little interesting. That's not very vegan.
It's not very vegan. I think that, maybe this is on me for my own personal experience. Obviously, it's not on me to find and report to others, but on me for not knowing this. But looking into how FTX started and how Alameda was funded, and then how that was spun into FTX, Suzu from 3AC has been having this like comeback arc, or trying to, on Twitter, which is its own thing. We don't have to talk
Stupidest thing ever.
I mean, it literally is. But he talked about in 2019 being like, what the hell are these people talking about when they're trying to raise money? They had $5 million total. $5 million. Alameda did. And they were trying to raise from 5 million. They had a leveraged capital balance of 55 million. They ended up raising 200. And their initial white paper, guys, is something that if any of the three of us would have read today about a new token, our response would have been, this is bullshit, man.
Why?
There's no way I'm touching that.
Why did we never see this?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
How did this never come out before? Like, dude, how did no one reading this thing where it says we guarantee 20% with no downside risk?
15% no downside risk. If I read that today at my grocery store,
I short you to 0.
And they were able to turn $5 million in equity into $200 million on a white paper that was 15% guaranteed returns, no downside.
It's ridiculous. Like, I guess what I'm most upset about is, like, how did that not come out sooner? That no one talked about that. I don't know, man. That's just because in hindsight, and not even just in hindsight, like everyone's saying, oh, in hindsight, like, yeah, if you saw the signs, it was obvious. No, in real time, if I heard that, it would have been obvious.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes,
like none of this information was out. So
you guys saw he just
Allegedly.
tweeted again, right?
Did he? No. Let me
Shrapnel.
I'm excited.
I need to unblock really quick.
I know.
Just kidding.
He just said
It's so, dude,
24 shrapnel.
Oh, he tweeted. Well, this was
41
minutes ago.
Yeah.
It was like 5 more tweets in his thread.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see
Okay,
all that.
I'll read it live. Number 19.
Right.
Once upon a time, a month ago, FTX was a valuable enterprise. FTX had 10 to 15 billion of daily volume, roughly 1 billion of annual revenue, 40 billion of equity value. Fucking fuck you, Sam. Sorry, I know people get upset when I cuss a lot, mainly Alan's dad, which I put on the website, so I'm sorry, Alan's dad. But this needs it. And we were held on paragons. We were held as paragons of running an effective company. This is number 20. I was on the cover of every magazine, and FTX was the darling of Silicon Valley. We got overconfident and careless. Number 21. And problems were brewing, larger than I realized. Again, these numbers are approximate to the best of my knowledge, etc. Leverage built up. $5 billion of leverage, backed by 20 billions of assets, which were, and then literally he said, kind of agreeing with what we just said. Well, they had value. FTT had value in EV, but they had risk. And that was risk correlated with the other collateral, with the platform. And then the crash came. In a few-day period, there was a historic crash, over 50% in the most correlated assets with no bid-side liquidity. And at the same time, there was a run on the bank. Roughly 25% of customer assets were withdrawn each day. $4 billion. As it turns out, I was wrong. Leverage wasn't $5 billion, it was $13 billion. 13 billions in leverage, total run on the bank, total collapse in asset value all at once, which is why you don't want that leverage. And then he just said shrapnel. So essentially, he said we were on pace for $1 billion annually, $40 billion valuation. And it was just because of the fact that there was this bank run that caused everything to collapse, which, by the way, guys, you guys both know that I started in equities and futures, then I moved over to crypto. While all this is happening, NASDAQ and the S&P are like ripping as we're getting crushed.
That's part of the most annoying thing. If none of this happened, Bitcoin's sitting at like 30K right now.
It might be like high 20s anyway.
And like
Ethereum
we were
close to 3,000.
Yeah, and we were bullish. The market was looking good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get hit by this, and the timing appeared to be good with like timing it with equities. And yeah, it sucks.
What absolutely blows my mind is that Sam is tweeting. So there's been a lot of like tinfoil hat shit going on Twitter right now about like, man, if you just buy off your political, buy off the political people, then you can say whatever the hell you want, because no person in their right mind would be speaking based on what he's looking at right now. Like, this is nothing short of fraud, embezzlement, wire fraud, laundering, you name it. This dude should never see a sunrise of freedom ever again. And he's here tweeting.
Yeah, and somehow, not just tweeting, he's having like, I don't remember who it was, Bloomberg, Financial Times, something, write like positively viewed articles about him.
Real.
And then what's his name? I forgot his real name. Mr. Awesome.
Kevin O'Leary.
Guy on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary says he'd invest, like he'd back him again for another venture. Like, are these people, are they like delusional, or did they just like not have any of the, like, is the media, is like everyone outside of crypto Twitter like seeing a completely different side of this story?
They've got to be.
And like, how would that continue? And like, how does that,
How?
I don't get it, man. It's super frustrating.
Dale, I feel like you have more to say, man. You're like brooding over there. I can tell you got the
it's
wheels
just so
turning.
it's frustrating because, like Kaz says, if this is anyone else, and I don't know if it's because he's, the number 2 donor in the Democratic Party the last election cycle, or what the case is, but if this is anybody else, like they would be in jail. They would have been hunted down.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's frustrating.
Yeah. Have you seen who his like family is and all those?
Both his parents are law
stuff?
professors.
Yeah.
Both of his parents are law professors at Stanford.
And his dad like worked with Gary Gensler.
So that's Caroline's.
At some point, like just it goes so. Oh yeah,
Caroline's
something like that.
dad
I don't know. It goes so deep.
Yeah, and his dad, Sam's dad, I think worked with the Clintons.
Correct. Yes, you have like really bizarre tiebacks to the Democratic Party. Not that it matters. I'm sure there's plenty of Republicans too that were, happy to meet with this dude. Those that were digital friendly. So I'm not going to throw
more
it
so
all.
the fact that it's ties to the government. I don't
That's
like
right.
politics aside. The fact that it looks like money was just being funneled like to the I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want
It is
to.
still
Whatever.
absolutely hysterical to me. Yeah. I'm not trying to pick a side politically. It's absolutely hysterical to me that like even 15 hours ago he said, "I know you've all seen this, but here's where things stand today. Roughly speaking, liquid we're negative $8 billion, semi-liquid 5.5 billion, illiquid 3.5 billion." Okay, so he's saying that they have more
Where's that
value
tweet?
in assets. That was number 17 on the chain. He
I
said,
gotta
and
go
yeah,
to-
maybe that 9 billion illiquid mark to market isn't worth 9 billion plus 1 billion net. But a month ago it was worth 18 billion plus 10 billion net. So like essentially like he's still holding, dude, no one is touching any of those tokens or protocols ever again. And Sue even tweeted that, and he said, "Let's have a Dutch auction for your assets as they are. Let's see where they stand. We'll start them at whatever mark-to-market valuation you want. We'll just keep dropping price until people want to step in and buy those assets and see if you can get yourself out of the crisis you're in." And obviously, nobody responded to that. But he's 100% right, dude. I would never ever touch a single thing this dude does ever again. But you know what's going to happen? I know what's going to happen. He's going to escape mega jail time. I think he'll serve time, but it's going to be some bullshit we're all going to be infuriated about. And then he's going to go into the closet and we're never going to hear his name again. And then some anon dev running some anon decentralized exchange is going to come up and we're going to be like, "This is sick. Oh man, look how good it is." And he's going to come back as some anon dev and he's going to make $1 trillion or something ridiculous. Like he's just going to be able to get away scot-free. It's going to be insane. This dude is toxic. He should never be allowed to be in charge of anything ever again. But
Agreed.
if you pay politicians, you too can escape. I saw Loomdart. Loomdart's like, "Wow, dude's out here tweeting, I need to start a Ponzi and donate to people in offense today, like right now, because apparently that means you get out of jail scot-free, absolutely scot-free."
Dude.
So anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I had two things. I can't remember the first or the second thing. One of them was 3.5 billion in illiquid assets. To me, that just screams we bought a bunch of NFTs for really high prices.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, guys, and just to give it its due, okay, if you look on the assets sheet of Alameda, there's protocols, there's also companies they've invested in. Stacked is one of those companies, Joel and Alan's company, okay? And they're shielded from this, okay? They have very little to do with that other than they were investors, which is beautiful for them. I am thrilled for those guys that they never really got in bed with Sam. They never really did anything they wanted to do that would threaten them. But they theoretically, those illiquid assets, Kaz, Stacked, which is now called Path, they're a part of that because they have equity in Path, but it's illiquid. You can't just sell. I mean, unless there's a new raise, there's no way to get that money out. So that's one of the ways in which those ventures, which Sam was like, in retrospect, we shouldn't have been so aggressive with the ventures and used up all our cash to buy equity in companies that we would never be able to touch that equity again. Instead, we just want to print a bunch of bullshit coins and take loans against that way. Is essentially what he was saying. The subtext of that, of what he was saying.
In retrospect.
Yeah, in retrospect, we shouldn't have been investing in $135 million for FTX Arena. We should have been doing other things, which we could have taken loans against and ended up scamming more people. But really long short of this, and I want to do a better job, but it's kind of get away from me because I feel like we just need to kind of get our emotions out here. But what happened in all of this is a couple of things. But I want to go back one step further. So we already outlined how this was built off $5 million in liquid assets, levered to 55 to be able to do a raise valued at 200 million, which is insane. Okay. Like only in crypto would you ever see that happen. Fine. Along the way, one of their rivals was 3AC, Three Arrows Capital, which we all know was caught up in the Luna, Celsius, whatever, that whole time. Celsius is different, but the Luna collapse, 3AC was. Well, they've been rivals since 2019. And as the story goes, okay, the story goes like this. Someone within 3AC was leaking their books to Sam. Someone within 3AC that had access to their positions was leaking their books to Sam. So Sam knew that if he killed Luna, he would kill 3AC. And he freaking hated those guys. He hated them. If you look, there's a lot of crossover in investors who will talk back and forth. Go back and look on Twitter. Those dudes haven't had like a respectful discourse like ever, even before. Okay? They never really did. So the rumor is this. Hubris got Sam. That he saw, I can kill 3AC if I crush Luna. So he did. But what he also did was he crushed Alameda, because Alameda was almost as exposed as 3AC was.
What an idiot.
What an idiot is
And
that?
so having destroyed 3AC, he also destroyed his investment arm of Alameda. And there's in this article that I'll link in the pod. Essentially, at that time, when everything fell apart, Sam had two choices. One, at that moment, Alameda and FTX were fairly walled off. One, let Alameda fold as well. But who was running Alameda at the time?
His girlfriend.
That's right. So, do I let Alameda fall? Or do I take customer funds to service the debt that Alameda had and keep propping this motherfucker up? And that's what he did. There was that fork in the road moment. But the most ironic thing to me in this whole experiment is Sam caused the fork by going after 3AC. He caused the fork. If he wasn't trying to be big swinging dick Sam Bankman-Fried, then this never happens, guys. And I guess one if you have a comment on that comment, but more than that, we know now this was in him. Is it better or worse that he did that? Because if he didn't do it then, might he have done it later? So what's better?
We'd still be in the super
Probably that
cycle.
we got it out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Gosh, could you imagine?
Roll that back though. Like, what if Luna never goes down?
I would say if Luna never happens, Bitcoin's at like probably consolidating somewhere between like 30 and 45K. Because we were around there for a while.
We
you know?
were. I'm speechless, guys.
I hate him.
Other two.
So what we're saying is, to summarize real quick here, Sam built an empire off of bullshit. Because I'm going to link the article. You guys can go read this for yourselves. Anybody who's listening to this. The way that he raised, they did actually have, they had a better liquidation engine for FTX. Okay, so that is true. They did have technology that was better than anybody else in the space, but it's not like that can't be quickly and easily remedied. Okay, it can, but they did have something. So based off one good idea on liquidation engines, they turned 5 million into 40 billion on one idea, and then over leveraging everything. And the most ridiculous part about it is his hubris took him down by wanting to kill his competitor. Is that not the most entitled, spoiled, rich kid, mine is bigger than yours fucking thing you've ever heard?
It's pretty bad. And like, if you're about to go after someone, why don't you like make sure you're
buttoned up first?
Like, don't be over leveraged if you want to go get in a in a little battle here.
Right.
And also, oh man, it's just crazy. Like, what boggles my mind the most is these dudes had every single possible edge.
Mm-hmm.
They were trading against us on their own platform. and they go bankrupt anyway.
Agreed.
Making literally $1 billion of profit annually.
You get in Seoul at like, what was it, 5 cents?
Yeah, I think it was
25
slightly more than
cents?
that. But like, yeah, and it runs to $240, and they still screw it up. The part that is wild to me is if he was just communicating with Alameda better, they could have just played the whole Luna collapse and solved any financial issues they had.
Mhm.
Like, think about it. There are rumors that there are people on crypto Twitter or just very rich people who saw what was happening with UST and took out millions of dollars of loans in UST that they converted to USDC and then just repeated over and over and over again until UST fell apart. And then you were able to repay 9-figure loans with pennies. Alameda could have done that.
Don't you think they did?
If they did, then how did they get here, man? It's literally the greatest display of incompetence I've ever seen. And this disgusting part to me is a little bit ago, I talked about how this is the end of the centralization era in crypto, which I truly believe it is. But what's about to happen for crypto after all of this?
I don't
Regulation.
know. Oh, yeah. Well, that for sure.
It's regulation. We're going to be, I mean, I still think that the death stroke for crypto hasn't even happened yet. It's going to be Tom Brady sitting in front of a congressional hearing talking about why he agreed to be the face of FTX, which was scamming people. And you want to talk about killing people's interest in something. Put the greatest quarterback of all time on stand in front of the House of Representatives.
Also a Michigan graduate. Go Blue.
I thought you were talking about Rex Carson.
This guy.
Unabashed Bears guy.
But yeah, no, that's going to be pretty
So
bad.
it's going to result in additional regulation. But what we just talked about was all of crypto needs to move towards decentralization. It needs to move towards decentralization.
Not your keys, not your coins.
How do you move toward that? Yeah.
Yeah, those two things kind of work against each other.
They do. So what happens, Dale?
All right, I'm gonna tell you what happens. So first off, I'm gonna ask you guys this: do you think that the contagion on this, that I personally, I don't know if we're going to see the same sell-off that we did with 3AC because there's really no one to sell because there's no coins. I think the big sell-off you'll see is going to be like, I'm going to call it a spook sell-off, because there's going to be companies, places that keep coming out that they're financially ruined. And you'll see people think, oh shit, so-and-so's ruined, I'm out, so I'm selling. And it's not going to be like huge players where they're selling, 8 figures of crypto. It's going to be five to 6, maybe, figures. You might see that. But what I think is going to happen is, I think we're going to, like you said, Jared, we're going to see like Tom Brady going in front of Congress for a hearing. We're going to see those kind of things play out. And I think we're going to get a boredom for the next 6 to 8 months. I think we're just going to range sideways for 6 to 8 months. And then I think you might see a sell-off, a boredom sell-off there, and that's going to be the bottom. Could be. And then I think, the halvening is how many months away? 24?
Probably like at this point, yeah. No, it's 24, so it's probably like 14 months, maybe 14 to 16 months. I don't know. Spring of 24.
Be that easy again. It's worked every time.
It's worked every time, but again, we're in unseen waters. We're in uncharted waters here with the macro environment and this FTX stuff. But I still think, so we're going to sideways see the dump, and then I still think we're going to rally end of next year, and then through the halvening have another altcoin run. Let me tell you why I think this. Large part is because, Kaz, you might remember this in 2018-19, we were coming up on the halvening, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities as far as sentiment, although this is by far the lowest sentiment's ever been, in my opinion, since I've been in crypto. But people are saying it's done, it's dead, it's over, it's never coming back. all those same things that we heard in 1819, mainly 19. But I think I do honestly think we're close. Uh, I just think you just have to buckle down and stay. I don't think crypto's going to be dead because I saw a lot of the same things back in 19. A lot of the same things, and but I know some people are arguing, well, we saw so many top things signs, and it continued on for a year. But
Yeah,
we're 6, 7, 8 months into this now.
it's a good point. It's a good point.
So
Kaz, what are your thoughts?
yeah, let's hear him, cause daddy.
On like next
What do you-
bull run.
Where
Oh,
just
what did
where
you
we
said
go.
in terms of like what happens next? Yeah, where we go from here?
I think. Okay, so first of all, I think it's pretty remarkable. Bitcoin's still at $16,500 as of November 16th. From a technical standpoint, I think we probably bottom somewhere around 11. I don't know when that happens. I think a likely scenario could be ranging between 14 and 18 for months, kind of like what Dale was talking about, like just boredom. I mean, like who is going to pump us right now?
Yep.
It's kind of like Bitcoin at 6K, Bitcoin at 3K, when just not much is going on. You're stuck in this little range. People are giving up on crypto, but at that same time, who knows? There could be some people behind the scenes who are just loading up in that range. Um, and then maybe we spike down to 11 at some point, or maybe we like range in that region as well. But from a technical standpoint, I think 11 is where I'm like, all right, this is where I'm buying Bitcoin. If it doesn't work out, then maybe we're not right about crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, but as far as how long that takes, like I do think it could be over a year. And I think the other wrinkle that I have no idea how to factor in is how bad I mean, I guess it's not as bad as it had been before, but macro doesn't look great right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Macro doesn't look like it's in a bull run, like we're still raising rates, and who knows how long that's going to last for, and the impact that that's going to have on crypto, because ever since I've been in crypto, equities have been basically in a bull market, like
Yeah.
big picture. We've had a few drops, like the COVID drop in March of 2020 and things like that. But other than a couple spikes down like that, for the most part, equities have been in a bull market since, I don't know what year you want to say, but a long time.
I mean, really, 2010.
Yeah.
Started in 2010.
Right. So as long as crypto's been around. And so
Yeah.
it's hard to know how it could react if
things actually
equities
get
are in a
bad.
right.
Yeah, I agree, and quite frankly, I love your prognostication, Dale. I hope you're right.
Me too.
Maybe
I side with Dale on this one.
I hope
Yeah.
I'm right too. I could be way off.
I hope you're right. Like the pragmatist in me, like part of me is like, this is gonna sound super cheesy, but like part of me is like super heartbroken about this. Like I text both you, and I was like, I'm just sad,
It
man.
is.
Like I'm just sad in general about this. Like there was a lot of crap that came out that I was like, man, one actor's not big enough to take this thing down. And I sit here and I'm just very disappointed in everything that has kind of come out, where it's like, how could we let this fraud operate like he did, and what it's going to mean long term? Because here's the thing, and a bunch of my buddies that have made it, obviously you two among them, like I have said to me, like I'm never talking to another person about crypto ever again. And like that's not a terrible thing right now, because a lot of people got their friends in and they got smoked. There was somebody in my Telegram room that said, I shilled in like my parish priest and they're about to lose everything. It was all on FTX. And it was like, you know what, man? Why would you ever tell people about this now? And if that's the general feeling, where it's like, hey, come to this thing where at one point the umpires in Major League Baseball had FTX logo on their jersey, and it turns out it was a Bernanke level Ponzi scheme.
Yeah,
like that's
the one person who could do the most damage to crypto did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's
if it
right.
was one guy in the crypto space who could hurt crypto the most, it was Sam.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It literally, I think it was on Up Only. Kobe said, I'm trying to imagine something that would be worse than this. And he goes, the only thing I can imagine if like Satoshi came back out of being gone and it's just like, fuck this, it's all a scam. And he starts selling all of his Bitcoin. He's like, short of that, there's nothing else that could have happened that would have been worse overall. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's true. Like, what else could have happened?
Yeah.
Like even Sailor being like, I was wrong, guys. Bitcoin's a scam. Who cares? That guy's a
Yeah.
clown. You know,
I'm
like
not worried about that. That's fine.
there's very little else that could happen. So yeah, I'm just generally sad. And to kind of finish my point, like if we are truly entering a recession, which I believe we are for a multitude of reasons, I think if we only stop at 11K, we will be the luckiest people on earth. I think that when I look at a chart, I could see, 4-digit Bitcoin, like $500 Ethereum. I mean, like, I think it's going to get that bad because you're right. What if all of a sudden, like the ES right now is at 3,900? Okay, the ES is at 3,900. The pre-COVID highs were 3,400. The COVID lows was 2,200. What if 6 months from now we're hanging out around 2,500 S&P?
I mean, then you hope Bitcoin isn't completely correlated with the market. Like, you hope the narrative starts that it's like, I don't know, which I don't think now is the time for crypto to have a bullish narrative. But
Certainly not.
I don't know. I think 11-ish K is the best looking support on the chart. Doesn't mean it holds. But on the other hand, like, I think a good way to play it, if any of the listeners are not like super active, you just wait through some of this storm, see if it breaks down below there. Wait. Don't care about catching the bottom. As soon as it gets back above 11K, you get in and you hold on tight.
Yeah. Yep.
Like as we get closer, that might be how I end up playing it. If things are looking super grim, I mean, I'm not really interested with catching a bottom. I'd rather buy into some strength. I don't want to be the first person to
Second mouse concept. Second mouse
Yeah.
concept. You got to be the first. Second mouse gets killed by the mousetrap. Second mouse gets cheese because the trap has already been sprung.
That's right.
All right, so we're over time, and I said we'd let you go. I want to get out of here, but real quick, I'm gonna go to each of you, and I want your definitive answer on the record. Does Sam end up in prison? Yes or no, Kaz?
No.
Oh my God, Dale.
I mean, obviously, I want him to.
Yeah, I know.
I want him to be in there for the rest of his life, but I just have a feeling there are way too many political things going on in the background for it to actually happen.
I'm not saying I disagree. I just laugh. I laugh to stop from crying. Dale.
I agree. No. There's just I don't know. I'm like Kaz. I want to see him in there. I want to see him in there for mainly because he's not lost. He gambled with people's life savings. A lot of people have lost a lot of money, but he might get convicted of something. But I think he gets pardoned. I don't know.
Oh my!
Can you imagine?
Could you
Which
imagine?
is crazy. Could you think about how many people might have? I mean, this is going to get really grim, but how many people could have taken their lives because their life savings was just lost because of FTX?
Man. It's terrible.
And he's probably just going to get off.
And then he had the audacity in that article to say, "I'm not having problems sleeping."
Oh my God. My face was hot. I was so mad. Like my face was red. I was angry reading that New York Times article.
It's disgusting.
It's gross. Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
It's
well,
terrible.
Obviously this has been a little bit of a different episode. I'm hoping the fellows are kind of going to be able to peek out from their head underwater. They're not underwater, but you know what I'm saying? Like they're grinding right now, Joel and Alan, next week. And I think they'll have a little bit of a different perspective. I mean, Alan has alluded on this show. He's like, yeah, I've sat on phone calls with Sam several times. Once a month we have a call. And so, I mean, it'd be disingenuous for me not to ask him about that and talk about those things. So I think that's going to be different. I really value you guys coming on. You've been in this space for a long time. You're both widely respected. You got tens of thousands of followers each, people that look up to you. One, I'm glad to hear you guys are okay through this. I don't think any of us got out of this without at least a scratch, but some better than most. And I do really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting about what happened and, saying hello to the Crypto Parabellum podcast audience.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. Be happy to come on again if anyone wants me back.
Yeah, same with, I echo that. One final parting words to people. I know.
Yeah, sure.
Going through the last crash, I went from 4 figures to 6 back down to 4. And, like Messiah, I don't know if you follow Messiah, but if you do, I think he said it best is you just have to save what you can as far as capital, and the market eventually will turn again, and you will I promise you'll have another opportunity. So just stay with it. Don't give up, because run it back turbo, right, Kaz?
That's right. Like, this is people who are new to crypto. This is the turning point where it's like, all right, I'm going to focus up. I'm going to learn. I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to me again. Or it's all right, this crypto experiment wasn't too fun. I'm calling it quits. And like, those are the two paths that you can go down. And, if you can stomach it, I would encourage you to stick with it. That's what I've done. And it worked out thus far. So hoping we run it back again.
I'm certain there will be another bull run. I'm not doubting that at all. And also, Dale, thank you for picking us up a little bit, man. I felt like a funeral in here for a little bit. We'll rise again. I think we will. I think you're right. I kind of got in right at the start of this run. Like, I got in 5 months before the 2020 crash. So I kind of saw a not great time. But then I've been living through bull runs the whole time. So I'm not going anywhere. I think it was the first thing I tweeted where it was like, this is all fucked up. It's going to take a long time, but I'm not leaving because I love this space. And I think it's where we need to go for humanity. And quite frankly, I'm somewhat like, there's a silver lining to me about what happens next, because if we do rededicate ourselves to decentralization, to auditing people's holdings, to making them show proof of their claims, we will all be better for it in the long run. We're just heading both into winter in North America. Not everybody here listens from North America, but we're heading into winter for crypto too. So the spring will be glorious when it comes again. We'll all get out and golf and, have fun and all that stuff, but it's going to be cold for a while. So on that bright note, stay involved, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Let me play us out here. Thanks again, guys. Smooth bass line, though, isn't it?
It goes.
It slaps, baby.
Slaps. Crypto Parabellum Podcast, episode 13. Yes, Trader Kaz and Crypto Dale. Go follow him on Twitter.